Well, Jay, the CFL announced a bunch of new changes yesterday. How excited are you for some of these new things that are coming to the league?
I think it's incredibly exciting. It's a monumental shift for the league. It's been a long time coming. And as we think about how do we bring new fans into the CFL family, how do we advance the game, how do we modernize it and make it, improve that fan experience? I think these changes are going to be pretty exciting.
Is there one that stands out to you that you kind of like the most?
To me, the easy one is the Rouge, right? Thank goodness, we have never had a Grey Cup decided on a missed field goal. And so, when you look at, the league, the biggest criticism is how do you reward failure with that extra point? And so I think, modernizing that rule is a big one. But the field changes and moving the goalpost, to the back of the end zone, that would be a fundamental shift in how you plan your offense. Whether you should kick a field goal or whether you're going to go for it on third down and those sorts of things. So it's going to really change the game from that perspective.
Obviously, these were big changes, big decisions. Do you know what went into that decision-making process?
I think this started when Stu, the commissioner, was hired, and he talked to the lead governors and said, if you're looking for the status quo, I'm not your guy. And their response was, we don't want the status quo, let's make some changes. And he started a process of, visiting every team, talking to all the team presidents, the team personnel, and, what sort of things need to change. And then from there, he went to the football operations team and tasked them with, bringing up the data, analyzing that data, and how do we prove out these changes that they're going to have the impact that we think they will. And so they spent a lot of time, months, working on this, and I was very glad and happy to hear that because there's a lot of data to support what we're trying to do.
There was a lot of positive reaction, but some negative reaction as well. What's your response to that reaction?
Change is hard, and it doesn't matter whether it's football or life. Change is hard, and the traditionalists will say that we're moving away from the Canadian game. But when you think about it, we're still having 3 downs. We have 12 players in the field. We have the wide field, the waggle, the 1 yard off the ball. We are still maintaining that Canadian identity and really modernizing the game and making it more exciting, more dynamic, and more fan engaged.
For the fans who are upset about these changes.
Yep.
What's your message to them?
Well, first of all, I understand. Again, change is hard. Change is different, and we don't know what will the outcome actually be at the end of it. But when you look at all the major leagues, whether it's baseball, hockey, they've all gone through change from that perspective. Major League Baseball recently did their pitch clock, and people were up in arms about that, and it's actually made the game quite a better game to enjoy. And so, have some patience with us, and hopefully these will play out like we've said they will. We've got the data to support it. Now it's how do we fine tune it to ensure that it does what we say it's going to do.